Yo, what's up? It's King Steph, and we are going to be going over my top 10 favorite Jujutsu Kaisen characters in the series. This is basically straight up opinionated, so don't come in the comment section talking about, oh, you should be on the list, you know what I'm saying? Nah, this is my top 10. Let me know your favorites in the comment section down below. Give me like a top 3 or 5. So these are going to be my 10 just favorite characters that I love in the series. This is actually very hard, especially from like 5 to 10. It was very difficult trying to rank these characters for myself. So let's just go ahead and start the list off with number 10. Number 10, I'm going with my guy Choso. Choso has easily one of my favorite techniques in the series with the blood manipulation. Also, he has my absolute favorite fight in the entire series with his fight versus Yuji. And I love him just from his character design, just kind of like his goofiness when he comes to talk about his brothers and everything. Just that whole personality trait of his and how he takes up as being an older brother is like something that you should like actually put a lot of effort and forth into, you know, be a leader for your brothers. I think Choso is just a great character in the series of Jujutsu Kaisen. I can't wait to see what else he does in the series. Hopefully he doesn't get killed. For number 9, I have Mahito. I just love his chaotic evil energy. I love all of it. I know some people hate him because he's taken out a good portion of our favorites, but I can't lie, I'm always been a villain guy ever since I could tell. But hey, I just love him. He's also got one of the more versatile techniques in the series that I just find perfect for his character. I think the whole patchwork design of him fits great in the whole series of Jujutsu Kaisen. The body and the soul theme with him is always hidden whenever it's used, and plus that panel of his face against Mekamaru is like, to me, one of the most memorable panels in the whole series. At 8, we got the brother himself, Aoi Todo. Anybody in Jujutsu Kaisen as a fan, you love Todo. I have him at number 8. Todo, literally from the moment he was introducing the series, I knew this was going to be one of my favorites. From the whole boogie woogie thing, his dynamic with Yuji is absolute just hilarious to me at times, and also really cool kind of with Todo as his senpai, and he takes over like that position of teaching Yuji and really helping him and mentoring him at times. I love it. I think Todo is easily one of the best characters in the series because he literally gives you everything. For 7, I'm going with Maki. Especially Maki right now she's rising in the ranks. Her character progression and development is just fulfilling in the series. From the moment we seen her and how she was disrespected by the Zenin clan, up until now when we see what happened when she did beat the Zenin clan post preparation and everything that happened over there, amazing to see her growth and even how she grew into how she finally achieved complete heavily restriction with Mai. It really did tug on our strings, seeing how important Mai was to her. Even as an audience, we weren't that big of Mai, but seeing how Maki clearly as a sister, it was a completely different dynamic for us. And I'm looking forward to what she does currently in the manga right now, because it looks like she's about to get another body on her list. Number 6, I have none other than the King of Curses, Sukuna. His presence in the story is honestly untouchable. It is unmatched. I know there's another character on this list that has another big presence, but something about Sukuna is just different. It's a whole different feel because it's pure evil energy, and rarely do you see an antagonist like Sukuna who's so evil and charismatic that the general fan base loves this guy, because he's done nothing in terms of like a quote-unquote good sense or anything that kind of would make you kind of go, damn man, why Sukuna do that? He actually makes people love him even more the more he's shown in the series, and I'm a fan of that. I think what he did in Shibuya is one of my favorite parts of that entire arc. I think everything regarding him and Yuji's inner demon trope dynamic and how it's flipped. The minute I saw the direction that Gege was going with Sukuna, I knew there was truly something special with this character. And the fact that there's still even more things we have yet to see from the Sukuna that I still cannot wait to see is really reassuring to see, because it just lets us know that Sukuna has a lot more to show us that we still have yet to even witness. Whether it's his power or even about himself and his backstory and his character. For number 5, we have none other, of course, Mr. Goju Satoru, aka Drip God. I mean, this man just oozes charisma, like another character that's also on this list. The role of being the strongest and the bad that comes with it is always a narrative plot I feel like is very slept on in terms of directions to go with that kind of adult character or a character with a lot of responsibility. And I think Gojo's character fulfills that really well. Also, him being the kind of the leader of the new age sorcery versus the old traditional way of sorcery is perfect for his character, and I'm all for that. There's just so much you can do with a character narrative like that, and I love seeing how he builds up his students like a Yuji, a Megami, Yuta, etc. as the future, and that this old traditional way of looking at things a certain way in such a minimalist way is going out of style. It's out of date and is actually hindering their progression. And the fact that he wants to see his students progress to a point where they're stronger than him and pretty much going beyond the limits of a special grade is amazing. Not to mention, I mean, his power is one of the coolest in the series. I mean, Hollow Purple, that technique is probably my favorite out of his arsenal. Obviously, Domain Expansion, the Infinite Void is always fantastic to see. It's kind of like a spectacle in its own right. When season 2 drops, pretty much be ready to see a lot of Gojo if you have a Twitter on your timelines, because you're gonna see a lot of him, especially in the beginning parts of season 2. Number 4 is Hakari Kenji. Yes, he is new, but man, his first impressions, I already knew he was gonna be a favorite. Like I said about Gojo, charisma out the ass, so much sauce. The man is just on another level when it comes to that. Also, I have never seen a character that looks black, Asian, and Latino at the same damn time. You can explain it to me, I don't know how, but hey, that shit works. But man, he has a fun technique. I love his domain. It adds suspense every time he uses it. I love anything that's kind of like a gambler type gimmick to a character, or kind of like a gambling aesthetic, because I like to dib and dabble in gambling myself, so I can relate to some of the things that he's saying. I love his ideology of wanting to control Japan's fever, and him having his own fight club, the attire he wore, which is very reminiscent of what Brad Pitt wore in the movie. He's a brawler. I mean, the man wears jeans and Timbs. I mean, he was made for me to like. He was made, and there's no telling. By the time I make another list, because I will make another one, by the way, probably next year, when he might be higher. You never know. But Hakari Kenji, everything about him, I'm just loving so far, and he's number 4 on this list. Third on the list, I have my boy Megami Fushiguro, the Deuteragnus of this series. I love his growth from literally the start to where we're at right now, and kind of the also foreshadowing of him and his father, but Toji Fushiguro. I think the way Gege's kind of using Megami is really smart, as it's like every time, every arc, he's either showing some type of foreshadowing or actual progression. He rarely ever goes back. I love the 10 Shadows technique. I can't wait to find out what the other 3 are, but the fact that he's so versatile with just the ones he has now, and especially his fights. There's something about Megami's fights that are just so much different compared to a lot of people, and it's not only because he's strategic, but it's kind of the way that he uses all the tools in his arsenal. He literally uses everything at his disposal and tries his best to use it to counter his opponents. I think that's something that really he has only shown in this series, and it works. I absolutely love Maharaga. When he pulled that moment out, and kind of in reference to the anime, I'll say episode 5, where he was going to use this Maharaga against Sukuna back then, and actually see what it was that he was going to use, and that this was his quote-unquote trump card instead of the domain, because obviously his domain isn't complete. I thought that was like really such a plot twist. I didn't expect him to have something so strong in his shadow or in his Shikigami that he has yet to even tame. And the fact that Megami leaves so much to be desired in a good way, of the fact that he has 2 techniques that we have yet to see him master, not only to see where his mental state will be, is foreshadowed that he's going to adapt or kind of inherit some of Toji's mentality, kind of like a killer mentality is what I like to call it, in battle, and kind of really start to enjoy it in a way, but he still has kind of like these inner thoughts or kind of these inner conflicts of that he really doesn't want to kill. He's just doing it because he knows he has to, or he has no other choice, and even after he does it, it's not glorified. Looked at in a way of kind of like a sad progression, and wow, this is what he had to end up doing at the end of this fight. And the day we see him at full strength for the first time with everything mastered, it's going to be a great day to see. Number 2 is the main protagonist, Yuji Itadori. Yuji to me is the prototype main character for me that I enjoy, because there's more to the surface of him than what is really shown. His inner conflict of dealing with Sukuna's actions and that effect and how that affects people other than just him is shown really well, especially in places like Shibuya, or going even back to Junpei, and how he even takes responsibility to become stronger, even though there are times it's literally just not his fault. And the notion of what if is always in Yuji's head. That's something that I can always relate to, as I always have thoughts kind of similar to that. Plus, his fighting style, pure hands, and his reflexes is always entertaining to see. I love Yuji's energy throughout the series, whether he's dead serious or just joyful and kind of just enjoying life. I could just never get tired of it. I believe he's the perfect main character for a series such as JJK. Whatever Yuji's fate is at the end of the series, I just hope that it's written well and it's somewhat positive, because as a fan of Yuji, not gonna lie, I don't know how great his ending is gonna be in terms of whether it being positive or negative. The number one, I do have a couple of honorable mentions I do on the list. Geto Suguru is one of them. Love him as a character and mainly as an antagonistic force. I think he's really good, especially in Volume 0. I think that's really where kind of Geto's whole character shines the best. And then I'm gonna have to go with Yuto Kosu. I'm probably gonna have one of the very few lists where he's not on the top 10. Don't get it twisted. I still love Yuta. Like, literally, there's about 20 characters in JJK I can say, like, I genuinely love. And he's one of them. He just didn't make my top 10. And I'll throw my girl Nobara Kugisaki in there. Let's hope you come back soon. And at the number one spot is the savage himself, Toji Fushiguro. He left too much of an impact in Hidden Inventory and even later in the series to just not be at the top of the list. First of all, his fighting style, and with him having heavenly restriction, meaning 0 curse energy, 0 curse techniques, pure instincts, and physical prowess. My God, was he great to read, especially in his fights against Gojo and Geto. Oh my God, like you could tell Gege was just having fun drawing him, because he could just go all out, showcasing his speed, his resilience, how he uses his weapons. His array of weapons was so cool to me, because literally 3 of them were like my favorite types: a dagger, a long sword, and a freaking chain. Toji's bag was deep. Don't get it twisted. Even though he had no techniques, it was all just hands and just weaponry. His bag was deep. Even outside of battle, he's just cerebral. I mean, even though I'm not going to call this a battle, that moment of when he shot the vessel will forever be one of the funniest moments to me for some reason, because it literally happened out of nowhere. The fact that this is the first character I've ever seen in a manga with a power system as intricate as JJK, just say F it, I'm gonna pull this Glock out. But his character design is effective, it's simple, but it just works. And even his reasoning for hating the Zenin clan was literally, that was like the nail in the coffin. He was gonna be a fan favorite as soon as it was shown that he hated the Zenin clan and he was the black sheep of that clan. And when season 2 come out, it's gonna be Toji season. I'm gonna be repping Toji all freaking year when Toji is shown in season 2. I know I hope Mappa goes all out for my boy, even though I know it's probably hard times over there because of scheduling. I just know Toji is gonna set the world on fire when he's released in season 2. That's my favorites in JujutsuKaisen as of 2022. Like I said, I'm gonna do another one probably next year and see how everybody ranks after that. But let me know some of your favorites in the comment section down below. Don't forget to subscribe and like the video. I'll holler at you on the next one. Peace.